Hi, Poppy friends. I am so excited because today is the day when we are going to be putting our poppies together. We are going to be uniting these centers that we have made with the beautiful paper that we have created. So I'm going to grab a center. Hang on. All right, so here's a center, and it's a large one, and I've got green colored center, green colored stamens, and yellow colored pollen. And you may have made other choices with the kinds of centers that you have made, and this is your chance to match it with the paper in a fun way. And I'm going to show you some alternatives. Um, when you put your paper on the centers, you may choose to have a pickety edge. Pickety is the word that describes what petals look like when the outer edge of the petal has a darker, more intense color, or even a different color, like, for example, a deep purple flower with a little bit of a white edge. And so I imagine with the dyeing process that you've made a number of really great pickety edges with your paper. Let me show you an example of different choices that you can make. So these two poppies are made with exactly the same paper from the same day that I dyed. And I chose to put the pickety edge on the top of the petal, the outer edge of the petal for this poppy. And I put it on the inside of the petal. Here it is hiding in there for this poppy. And the poppies look really different. They have a different effect. Also, they look different because the stamens in the centers are different colors. Anyway, you can have a really great time with this. I've got my paper box right here, and I have been making so many poppies. I don't have much left. Probably with your paper, you've had enough to make a minimum of 10 poppies if you've been using the kit from Petals and Pearls. By the way, we're going to have at least one more video to come on finishing your poppy. Today we're going to cut the paper, shape it, and then put it on the center. So we're going to get these flowers nearly done, but there's a little bit more work to do. So please like and subscribe so that you can make sure to get the rest of the videos in this series. Okay, on to cutting the paper. You probably have pieces of doublet that are about this long. The length of your pieces of doublet will depend on how you dyed them and dried them. So actually, I'm not going to give you any measurements for how large your petals should be. But the first thing to do is fold your paper in half, and then you're going to have two pieces of the same length. Each one will make a different poppy. The first thing that you do is you fold it into thirds. So imagine you are making a fold that looks like the letter Z. And let's see, I've almost got it here. Now your paper may be longer or wider than mine, and that's okay because we were making all different sizes of paper when we were dyeing on the original day that we dyed. Okay, this is pretty good. So I've got my paper in what I call a Z fold or thirds. Looks kind of like the letter Z depending on your angle. And I'm going to cut that fold right there and cut this fold right here. And now I have three pieces of equal length. I'm going to do 3 more cuts, 4 more cuts. All right, so what I'll do first is I'm going to round the edge. And I don't have to cut much more than that. See, I just rounded the edge. Before you round the edge, you need to decide which is the top edge or this edge of your poppy. So I've decided to have a bit of a pickety edge, and I'm making this bit the top. So you can see the edge that I've rounded there. And then I'm going to round the other edge here. And I'll clean that up a little bit. All right, I have 2 petals that are cut. These are done. The third, I'm going to fold one more time. Going to make a snip at the corner, or the fold rather, and then I'm going to round the corner here. All right, I have 2 petals that are small and 2 petals that are larger. I'm going to have a look, do a little quality control, check out these edges, and they're looking good. All right, now we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of how to shape these petals. You're going to need your glue. You are going to need a little bowl with a paper towel in it because we're going to get gluey. And you've got to have a slippery surface like parchment paper because your surface is going to get gluey too. We're going to make fans first of all. I know that seems like a weird thing to do. And the fans will look like this. And when you were in elementary or school or something, you may have made paper into a fan by making the paper kind of go up and down with a fold. And that is basically what we're doing, except we want a much finer fan with a lot more folds. So we're going to be tucking the paper into these little tiny folds here. And in order to give you a good view of cutting and shaping, we're going to need to go overhead. So I'll see you back at the end for some final thoughts. All right, enjoy your cutting and shaping. This is the most fun of the whole process. I've got my petal here ready with its rounded corners, and I'm going to tightly pinch and tuck the petal to make the fan. I'm going to be concentrating on the bottom portion, and I'm going to spread it open. And I haven't used any glue at this point because what I'm trying to do is just get the paper used to being in the fan shape and set the folds. So that way when I glue it, it's going to be much easier to fold things and I can do it more quickly. Another thing you can do is make the fan and then give it a good twist. I don't find that the shaping makes that much difference if I give it a twist or not, but sometimes that's fun. After I have made the fans and set the folds on all the petals, then I can start to glue. And I'm going to glue in the right hand corner of my parchment because I'm a righty. And it's important to be on parchment because when you are making the folds, you need to work on a slippery surface. So here I have pinched and tucked and made my fans or made my first fan, and that's all I need to do. Sometimes I find that students overlap one of the corners of their petals when they're making the fans, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep everything on the same plane, so to speak, to have a very flat fan. You're going to repeat the fan making process with all the petals, and what you may find, or a good thing to do, is to gradually work across your parchment surface so that you don't get your other petals gluey. I have gotten very gluey because I've made about 20 petals. And so use your paper towel to wipe your fingers off when you're ready. You may find that the glue expands the paper and you need to pinch it again. After making all these petals, my surface has gotten quite gluey, but by working from one end of the parchment to the other side, I have been able to just stick with using